Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or it's 2 a.m. Good bed already. This is Eagle Eyes on Tech. I am Eagle Falcon. Last week, we put out the very first episode of Eagle Eyes on Tech. And looking back on it, wow. That was terrible. Wow. I don't even know what else to say. I mean, never gonna do anything that bad again. Never again. It was a pain trying to get those pictures and put them up. It was a pain trying to find the sources after the fact. So, from here on out, I'm going to try doing it this way. Just using my capture card straight up and just showing you the sites that I'm looking at the time. The sources will be right in the address bar right here, as you can see. And we're going to try this again from there. We're not going to redo the episode or anything crazy like that. That's just kind of dumb. It happened, we'll learn from it, and we'll just move on from there. So, anyway. I'm trying to think how to get into this. Well, as you can see, the first topic is the original MacBook. And it's the original MacBook by name only. This thing is thinner than the MacBook Air, which was originally built to be a thin laptop. It's lighter, it's less powerful, I don't even know what Apple was really thinking with this thing. I mean, as you can see, it's nice, it's thin, it's got a huge keyboard, huge trackpad, and this is old news by now. Everyone knows what the punchline is. The thing only has one port, and it's the charging port. That's it. Oh, I take that back. I think there is a what's it called port? God, fuck. Yeah, there it is. It does also have a headphone jack. That's what it was. God, wow, I can't believe my brain crapped it already. I said I was going to start this off and it would be a brand new beginning and that this would actually go somewhere. And after all the preparation I did, I prepped myself the entire week, practiced talking to myself in the mirror, and practiced this over and over and over again, and I am just a tongue-tied idiot now that I'm actually recording it. But I kept telling myself I'd only do one take, because otherwise I'm a perfectionist when it comes to this sort of stuff. If I would just go ahead and just say, no, we're going to scrap this take every single time I didn't like it, it would take me a month to do one of these episodes. And maybe that's for the best, but at some point I just got to say, no, it's got to come out. And that's why the terrible run that went out last time was. But again, maybe this will turn out well, except for that weird stumble right there. Alright, regardless. This is an old story, obviously. The MacBook has been out for a while, and I just want to give my 2 cents on the thing. It's a very thin laptop. It's only at 2 inches, or 12 inches, I'm sorry, a 12-inch screen. The resolution is 2304 by 1440, so it's stupid high resolution. Flat out stupid high. Way higher than it needs to be. It's even higher than the 18-inch monstrosity of a laptop I have. That's how high the resolution is. It's a 60 by 10, unlike the rest of the universe that uses a 16 by 9 aspect ratio. And the keyboard's enormous. It goes edge to edge, which I like. Everyone else praises this thing for the keyboard. Let me tell you something, though. This keyboard is not new. It isn't. First off, I ranted about this last week. This keyboard layout is flat out ripping off HP. The only thing that isn't HP on this is the fact that, well, A, it's Apple. B, HP doesn't have a retarded double-length escape key. Seriously, what is with this key right here? Doesn't this look out of place? It's just so weird. Why is this key almost twice the length of every other function key up there? Whatever. The other thing is that the power button is now sitting right here. And I don't own one of these, mainly because I'm not a billionaire. But I can't imagine. I just see myself one day trying to type and just go, oh, I made a mistake, hit the delete key, and just miss it by a little bit and accidentally hitting the power button. I don't know if that's ever been a thing, that anyone's done that. It just seems like a thing that would happen. And then, of course, I've already ranted about the arrow keys before. 2 big ones on the side and half size taking up the up and down. I would not want to play any video games that take arrow keys on this. But I wouldn't want to play video games on this thing at all. There is not a lot of horsepower in here. You know, it's only a Core M processor in there. It's only, I think it's 4 gigs of RAM. Let me quickly pull this up. I can't believe I didn't pull up the specs before going in here. But look, you know, all the specs are real low because you can see here, the motherboard is not very big. The most laptops, if you ever actually take a look at them, the motherboard is roughly 1/3 to 1/2 of the laptop. Here, it's maybe 1/6, maybe 1/8. It's a very tiny motherboard. And anyone who actually knows circuitry, you can actually take a look at this thing and see there is a lot crammed in here. It's not that they just put a phone motherboard in for the heck of it. There's a lot of everything crammed on here. You've got the RAM, you've got the Core M on there, and everything. It's a fanless design. And normally I'd give them crap for that sort of stuff, meaning that, oh, it's going to overheat itself. It's a full x86 processor. It's just a Core M. It's only a 5-watt part. Now, on the flip side, there are tons of Intel Atom laptops, netbooks, that use Intel Atom processors that are only 2.5 watts, that do need active cooling, that do need a fan and heatsink. This one doesn't, but the Core M is much, much better at cooling itself. And like I said, and let's actually go back to the actual specs now that I actually got them up. There are 2 models. We have the lower end model, which is a 1.1 gigahertz dual-core Core M processor that boost clocks up to 2.4 gigahertz. Ignore the turbo speed. Always, always, always ignore the turbo speed. Because 9 times out of 10, you're going to get that 1.1 speed. And occasionally you'll be able to boost up there, and you'll feel this thing start to cook itself because there's no fan, and then the turbo will go away. So because there's no active cooling on this, do not count on that turbo speed, period. Think of it as a nice little boost when it does happen. And, alright, I'm done with that. It's a 1.1 gigahertz dual-core Core M processor. You can upgrade it up to a 1.3 gigahertz dual-core Core M with another boost, whatever. The RAM, I was wrong. It's not 4 gigs. It's 8 gigs of soldered-on RAM. That's actually kind of interesting. I'm curious which one of these chips is the 8 gig module. It's probably this little guy right here. I'm willing to bet is it. I don't know. I should have pulled up iFixit. They would have said exactly which little part of it is on there. Whatever. Nobody cares about that. The lower end model has 256 gigs of onboard flash storage. There's flash storage on there too? Jesus Christ. There's a lot going on this little itty-bitty board. It is actually really impressive. Size and weight, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to go over that. Here's the bottom line. It's super thin and it's super light. It's only 2 pounds. Surprise! Intel Graphics HD 5300. So, that actually does tell us that if my memory serves, the fact that it's an Intel 5300 does tell us that it's 5th generation Broadwell Intel Core M's. So, we're a generation behind, seeing as how we're on, that's 5th generation, we're on 6th generation Intel processors. So it's already a generation behind. I don't know if the MacBook's going to look at a refresh soon as a result. If it does, you definitely want to pay attention to some of the following details. But we'll get to the details you want to pay attention for in a minute. We're at wireless AC, nothing special there. There's only the USB-C port. I want more things to start using USB-C because it's a very magical port. You know, it's USB with stupid fast transfer rates, up to 5 gigabytes. You know, it also acts as a display port, it acts as VGA, it acts as HDMI, it acts as charge, it acts as whatever you want. Maybe it'll also hook up to your coffee maker and make coffee for you. Who cares? It's USB-C. It does anything and everything. The problem is that there's only one. So that means you want to charge and hook up a thumbstick at the same time? Tough. It's not happening. You need a splitter. Oh well, nice try. And that's the big problem. You've seen the guts. There's plenty of space. They could have just made this a little bit bigger, added a second one of these ports right here. This port right here, by the way, is what powers the USB-C. And what ends up happening is that this has a little ribbon that goes all the way over to this side, and that gives you the C connection. And then the rest of this empty space here is actually for battery. But anyway, enough getting sidetracked. As you can see, there's plenty of space there. They could have added a second port. But there's only one. This has all the laptop functionality of a tablet. And don't even get me started about the iPad Pro. And its one lightning port that it's only peripheral that to interact with it. The stylus uses the one port to charge. Like an idiot. Cameras, 480p, blah, blah, blah. Nothing real special there. There are dual microphones on the side, which is just going to give you mediocre quality and not the same quality I'm using with this nice big blue snowball with a pop filter that I'm using right now. The keyboard's big. The trackpad's big. The last thing I want to talk about with the trackpad and keyboard, though, and I meant to get to this earlier and I didn't. The keyboard, although the layout's kind of weird and still good at the same time, typing on this thing is a weird chore. If you've ever gone to a Best Buy or whatever your local electronics store is and ever played with the Microsoft Surface with the felt pad on it, you'll know there's a keyboard on there and you can type on that keyboard. But it feels like you're typing on like solid desk. It doesn't have a very good feel to it. The keyboard on this is just as bad. It goes in like maybe 1 millimeter to 0.5 millimeter, and that's it. The trackpad doesn't go in at all, but there is a haptic, or what would they call it? I think it's haptic, or they call it force clicks, where it's like a haptic engine and it like vibrates a little bit, and originally when it first came out, I thought like, wow, that's gonna feel terrible. I used it in the Apple Store. It's actually really good. I could not tell that it wasn't a real trackpad. It felt like it went in and you could force click to go deeper and all that other cool jazz. It was actually really cool. I actually kind of like that. But anyway, the battery is this weird composite thing where they've got multiple layers to it. I don't know if that's really the best way to go. I'm not a battery engineer, obviously. I'm just some guy ranting around. But having multiple layers like that means you have to have casing for all of them. And that casing is more space spent to that you could have spent for battery. And it's just in this area where you could have had some battery here, you could have had a little bit more here. It seems like there's a lot of wasted space. They probably could have even moved this board, just moved on that side, had it be like right here on the side, not even have to worry about a ribbon. There's a lot of design choices with this MacBook that seem kind of odd to me. And it's led to, it's only 9 hours of wireless web, and for what basically amounts to a slightly more powerful tablet, that's very much really 30 days of standby time. Of course there's 30 days of standby time. Everything is flipping flash storage and probably consumes a grand total of not 3 watts, but 8 watts. And the charger is a 30-watt charger. That actually kind of surprised me a bit. I thought the charger would be less, which does make me wonder if there's more on here that's taking up more power. Or if they just chose 29 watts because it's going to be a standard down the road. There's a good chance, possibly, that the new MacBook Airs then will use this same charger, because that would be within the watt tolerance that the MacBook Airs would use. Maybe. Wow, I thought of that just on the spot. That's actually kind of brilliant. That could just be a standard thing. So you heard here, folks. We could have MacBook Airs with USB Type-C power connectors. And if that's the case, there better be more than one, or someone's going to get hurt. Anyway, the price of this thing is what really blows me away. They're small, 12-inch laptops. They're not powerful. There's nothing real special about them other than they're thin and pretty much as bare bones as you can get with a stupid high-resolution display. In fact, the display is really the only thing that's really premium about this thing. Everything else is a compromise to get this thing thinner. This thing, there's basically an iPad with a keyboard, starts at $1,299. If you want to go to the higher end model, that is $1,599, you for that get a 1.2 gigahertz dual-core Core M processor. Here's a spoiler for you. No, it's not worth it. 100 megahertz for $300 price increase? No, it's not worth it. You get double the storage at 256 gigabytes PCI Express onboard flash. No, not worth it. And that's it. That's the only thing you gain. Yeah, that's the only thing you gain. Who woke up in the morning and decided, yes, this is what I want to do right here. I want to make an overpriced laptop that is basically a tablet with a keyboard running a real operating system. You know what? I already had one of that. It was called the Dell Venue. 10-inch tablet with a keyboard on it, and it runs Windows for a couple $100. I should have saved this for a Computer Wars. What's even worse is that I don't even have a Computer Wars planned for today. I was going to have something, but I wasn't able to get all the research I wanted done with it. So we're going to rant more about other things instead of doing the normal Computer Wars. But the last thing to say on this is the colors that come in. You either have classic aluminum matte, which they call silver. It's aluminum. It's just aluminum. Don't bother. Gold, who cares? Or space gray. Again, who cares? And I keep saying who cares, but apparently a lot of people do, because a lot of people lost their ever-loving minds because they could have a gold-tinted laptop. Oh! I don't get it. I will flat out admit I don't get it. I really don't get it. I don't get anything about this laptop. Let me give you a spoiler right now. If you want to go and shell out this much money on an Apple laptop, you should either do one of two things. A, go look at a used MacBook Air. You'll be happier. Or, heck, here's a better idea. I was going to save this for another day, but you know what? Let's just do it. Let's go right up here, and I'll just flat out show you what the specs and everything is for the MacBook Air. The current day and age MacBook Air. And I'm only going to look at the 11-inch. so that no one can say, well, of course I wouldn't go for the 13-inch. It's bigger and bulkier. Let's go for the 11-inch, something that's more portable than the MacBook, because that's the one thing the MacBook does well. It's portable. So let's take a look at the MacBook Air. Starting at $900, you don't get the nice ultra crisp. Wow, mine just blinked there. The nice crisp Retina display, but you got 1366 by 768. That is HD quality. You got 128 gigabytes of PCI-based flash storage. So the same speed, same performance, but it's only 128 gigs. So you cut that in half. You get a 1.6 gigahertz dual-core Core i5, as opposed to a little wimpy 5-watt Core M. And I guarantee you, even a Core i5 at the same clock speed as the Core M, the Core i5 is going to beat it up. It's just going to take the Core M out bat and just beat the snot out of it. Just because the Core i5 isn't limited only to 5 watts. This one I believe is like a 15-watt part, so it's consuming 3 times the power. So you got 4 gigs of RAM on there, so you have to configure it up to 8. You got 9 hours of wire. 9 hours. It's the same battery life as this guy, and this guy was built to have all-day battery life. That blows me away. 45-watt MagSafe power adapter, built-in 38 watt per hour. What was the watt per hour battery on the MacBook? Right, the MacBook Slim. 39.7 watt per hour on the MacBook. Just 30. Wow. It's the same battery. You only gain 1 watt per hour on the other one. That's crazy. The weight is 2.3 pounds. Oh, crap. Dang it. Oh, it's close. I know it's close to what the MacBook was. I think the MacBook was like 0.2 of a pound lighter. You can just backtrack and look at it. Intel HD graph. Was this updated? Maybe I'm misremembering my Intel HD graphics numbers. Yeah, I have to be. All right, Intel HD graphics 6000, so it's a newer version than what the MacBook's using. You know, you've got native mini display out, DVI using mini, blah blah blah, and all that jazz. You know, you've got so many more ports, so much more usability, the same dual mics. It's just a better laptop, and the only thing you lose is the screen. And you can even go to the higher end version, get your full 256 gig flash-based storage, upgrade to 512. Configure it to 8. Let's actually just go ahead and start buying one right now, because I want to see the price comparison between this guy here and actually configuring it exactly like the other one. Alright, so add $100. I think that's it. Yeah, that's all I had to do was bump it up to 8 gigs. And that brings me to $1,200. So for $100 less, you have a processor that doesn't make you cry on a slimmer package, one that's more portable. Yeah, you have a bigger bezel, but that's so you can have the same quality of keyboard in there. Just go get a MacBook Air. There is no reason not to get a MacBook Air over the regular MacBook unless you are just some sort of tool and need your laptop to be gold. And with that, we're going to move on and cut to a break. Because, wow, I didn't think I was going to rant on that nearly as much. I thought I was just going to spend 5 minutes on this. God dang. I spent 2 minutes stumbling and then 22 minutes ranting about how much the regular MacBook pisses me off. I thought I was going to get through all of this in the first section. What was I smoking? Alright, I'll be right back. Welcome back to Eagle Eyes on Tech. I am Eagle Falcon. Alright, so I already spent way too much time on the MacBook. So, like I said earlier, I didn't have a computer wars planned anyway. Even though I kinda did one between the MacBook and the MacBook Air. So maybe that was bad planning on my part, but I just got way too into that. So let's move on to smartwatches. Smartwatches is something that really fascinates me because I use one. I use a classic Pebble. It's scratched up, it's beat up. It lets me go and check it lets me check my text messages from my boss on my main job every time I'm out and about and he texts me about some important thing and I'm driving everywhere. It's a nice time saver and it keeps me safe on the roads because all I have to do is glance down at my watch and see basically the gist of what he wanted to tell me without having to worry about fumbling around with my phone and possibly getting into an accident. And everyone knows the Apple Watch is out now. And it just came out with watchOS 2 about 3 or 4 weeks ago. And this means basically nothing to the vast majority of people out there. Nobody has any idea what it means, unless you're pretty much in the know like those of us in the tech world. What watchOS 2 basically does is that everything that the watch should have done from the get-go has finally been opened up to developers. So now there'll be developers that can go ahead and access things like the accelerometer, right, and the heart rate monitor, and all the things that really should have been there from the get-go. And it's really just been a very bizarre update from Apple because you really expect better of them. It has also introduced some new watch faces, which that was one thing that kind of surprised me, was the lack of watch faces. You want to know how many watch faces the Pebble had out of the gate? Hundreds. Literally hundreds. There's even an app to go and make your own watch face on your phone for the Pebble. There's even an app store just for watch faces out there. Apple doesn't have this yet. The keyword is yet. Because I guarantee you, it's coming. The App Store of watch faces is coming. And get ready to shell out 99 cents for those watch faces. Which, yeah, go for it. I see nothing wrong with that. Honestly. People spend a lot of time working on these. I mean, look at these. These that are made with very nice time lapses of various cities. Someone spent the time making that. They spent, months getting all those together and making them nice and animated on that color screen. Yeah, definitely. I definitely think that'd be worth $1. Do I think the same thing would be worth $1 on the Pebble? No, probably not. Because the Pebble is just black and white. Well, now it's color. But the resolution is so low, and it's such a low-power device that it takes no effort to make watch faces on there. Like I said, there is an app that lets you make your own watch face. And even those guys gave that away for free. I would have been more than happy to pay $1 for that app. Well, whatever. I'm getting way off track. You can now also use a special image and make that as part of your watch face. And there's more ways to customize everything. There's now a nightstand mode that I'm willing to bet all of 2 people who own Apple Watches will actually do. Because, alright, well, one thing I do is I do have a wireless charger, and my phone does rest on it. And I've got what's called Dream Mode. That kind of shows a little clock as like a screensaver. And it's basically just a little, 5.5-inch alarm clock. My smartphone is my alarm clock. From a distance that gets too small to read, I cannot imagine anyone wants to go ahead and use a 1.5-inch screen as their alarm clock. No, thank you. Especially since the speaker on the Apple Watch isn't really that good, so I imagine that thing is just sounding really, really quiet and very hard to hear at all. And yeah, that's basically it. There is one thing I wanted to get to with the Apple Watch that kind of really makes me wonder if it's just me, or if this is just really stupid. And first off, every website's now doing this sort of stuff where you scroll down and the weirdest things happen. Or you can just scroll, and what would happen is just you'd move down on the page. Now I've got phones jumping at me, or watches in this case, jumping at me. But anyway, this is what I wanted to get to. These designer watch bands. I don't get it. Who woke up one morning and decided, yes, I want it to look like I've got a leather tentacle wrapped around my hand twice, kind of loosely and haphazardly, and just have it there. Is that a style? That doesn't seem like it should be a style to me. Is it just because I'm in the backwoods of Milwaukee somewhere and don't know what style is, or... I can't be the only one who thinks this is stupid. I just can't be. There's got to be at least some farmer out there in Pewaukee who agrees with me on this. Or wherever. Apologies to everyone in Pewaukee. I love you guys out there. Anyway, that's it for the Apple Watch. I still think this is way too expensive. This is way, way too expensive. I mean, just in case you don't remember, oh wow, they actually went down in price. When did that happen? Seriously, when did that happen? The price dropped $100 from when I checked like 2 days ago. When did this happen? Okay, so they start at $350, so they actually are now on par with every other smartwatch. Huh. Well. But yeah, plastic rubber band start at $350. $350 for the small one, $400 straight for the bigger one. They both look fine to me. But the finishes, I think, are more important here. Now, I wouldn't shut up before, just earlier, about how getting a golden laptop, getting a gold finish on your laptop is dumb. Getting it on a watch, on the other hand, actually makes a lot more sense. Watches are considered a piece of jewelry. They really are, first and foremost. And also a timekeeping piece. I guess I shouldn't say first and foremost. Ignore me, I'm dumb. But they're supposed to look nice. It is something of fashion to wear a watch. I wear a watch, like I said, because my boss keeps texting me while I drive. And I don't want to die. But, you know, if it were me, if in some parallel universe I went and got a new iPhone instead of this Android phone that I'm using now, I would get this one right here, the 42mm Sport gold watch. The reason being is that it's still Gorilla Glass on front, it's still scratch resistant, unlike my Pebble. And, you know, it looks nice from a distance. No one's going to get close enough to tell that it's not real gold. And it's still going to look slick. So, that's my tip for you. So, let me actually quickly take a look. This used to be $600. And it is still $600. So, it looks like the stainless steel one hasn't moved a bit in price. Though I gotta say, this space gray finish on the stainless steel looks great. Every picture I've seen of it looks great. I haven't had a chance to see one in person. I haven't cared enough to see one in person. But it does look nice. I will give it that. But I think that's the only other finish that the stainless steel one has. I would not get this guy at all. First off, because if you want a band that doesn't look like cheap plastic, you are paying out the nose for it. Milanese loop, $700 or $650 for this nice looking, what do they call this? Link bracelet? Yeah, link bracelet. Why'd I try to recall what they call that as a term instead of just looking down and seeing what it says? Oh, God. God, I'm recording this at 7 o'clock, and I feel like I should have drank like a gallon of coffee. God dang, I am losing it. But yeah, look at the price on this. This is crazy. $950 or $1,000 for this type of band. And it's a common band. I've had other watches before, and they weren't anywhere. It wasn't a $500 premium to get this style of band. For Christ's sake, I'm willing to bet the watch I got with this band on it cost less than just the band. But if you want that band black, ooh boy, you're paying an extra $100 for that stuff. Why? Oh, they call it space black now instead of space gray. That's nice. But here's the final piece to this one. The glass on this is sapphire, so it's stronger. But the stainless steel, it's the same stainless steel that they use on the iPods. Have you ever had an iPod Touch or an iPod Classic, and you left it in your pocket with some spare change, and you brought it out and it went from a mirror finish to a matte finish because it put that many scratches into it? That's what this is made of. No. God, no. Go get a sport model. Don't look back. If you want the money you just saved, the $200, go spend on a screen protector and a third-party watch band. Because Lord knows the watch bands that Apple has for this stuff is way overpriced, obviously. And just for kicks, let's take a look at the watch edition. Alright, those prices stay the same. So, I'll just quickly make my comments about it. No, I wouldn't buy it. And no, I don't think you'd buy it either. Not because you don't want to buy it, but because you can't afford to buy it. And that's okay. It's a small watch. It needs your phone to do most of the things that it wants to. I don't spend $10,000 on phones. I don't spend $10,000 on computers. I don't spend $10,000 on any piece of electronics. Heck, I don't spend $10,000 on my car. God, I'm poor. Anyway, it's a gold watch. If you really want this thing, you either can't afford it, or you have so much money that nothing I say was ever going to convince you not to get this. So, that's that. I thought because of the price drop in the Sport that this might have dropped a little bit. It clearly didn't, so that's that. Let's move on. Like I said, I own a Pebble. And I just want to go over some of the pros and cons of the Pebble. There are currently basically 5 models of the Pebble. There's the Pebble Classic that I have, which you can get for $100. If you look hard enough, you can find this even cheaper than that. That's the base model. It's a plastic screen. It's very bare bones functionality. It's basically good if you just want an entry-level smartwatch and don't want anything like heart rate monitoring or anything real fancy like that. Pebble Steel is basically the exact same thing as the classic Pebble, except it looks nicer and it's higher quality for $50 more. There's the Pebble Time, which is basically the standard of what the Pebble is now. It's color e-ink. And that's basically it. It's newer software, so it'll have more of the functionalities. And that does have a microphone. So you can talk into your watch and go, "Hey Siri," or "Okay Google," and I just made all of your phones wake up. Anyway, Pebble Time Steel, same thing, higher quality materials in the Pebble Time. And then there's the Pebble Time Round. I'm a fan of Pebble's stuff. I have no earthly idea what they were thinking. Yeah, it's a round watch. It looks nicer, but look at the bezel. Look at it. It's huge. It looks... At first glance, it doesn't, but it looks like it takes up half the watch. Just that bezel. The other kind of disappointing thing is... Let's talk about the battery life for a minute. The battery life on the Pebble and Pebble Steel is about 7 days. And, actually, the same thing with the Pebble Time. I thought the Pebble Time had a better battery life. Is 7 days. You can charge it for... You hook it up once and it's good for 7 days. Because it uses e-ink. It doesn't use LCD. E-ink is much more power efficient. It doesn't consume power to stay on. It only consumes power to refresh and animate. LCD consumes power at all times, whether it's standing still or not. That's one of the big advantages of e-ink. But e-ink isn't as crisp. That's why the Apple Watch, which uses LCD, looks better and can have high-resolution displays on it. And the Pebble Classic and the Pebbles all look kind of cartoony. It's because it's not that high quality of a screen. It's just e-ink. But there's advantages to that. Anyway, the Pebble Time Steel gets up to 10 days. By the way, I think I forgot to mention this, but the Apple Watch gets slightly less than a day. I want to say 18 hours is about the average. They say it gets a day. I don't think anyone has gotten a full 24 hours on it. My mother, who does own an Apple Watch, has on more than one occasion had to charge hers in the middle of the day. Anyway, the Pebble Time Round, on the other hand, 2 days of battery life. That's sad. That is super, super sad. Especially since it's e-ink. That is the one thing it has going for it. Wah, wah. But they're water resistant. You've got a mic built in on the Pebble Time Up. And the prices, as you can see, start at $100 for the Classic, $150 for the Steel, $200 for the Time, $250 for Time Steel, and $250 for the 2 rounds. I mean, that's all there really is to it. It's a nice thing to consider as an entry level. And honestly, I would recommend just getting into... I would ignore the 2 rounds. Get a square watch. If you really want a round watch that much, I mean, go for it. But spoiler for you. Watches were square before smartwatches. It's happened. They have existed like that. Alright, so I'm going to move on to the Gear S2. The Samsung Gear is a series... They were one of the first, Pebble being the very first, smartwatches out there. The Gear started off as Android-based square watches that just kind of never went anywhere. But they needed to have a Samsung phone. The Gear S2 is no exception. But the Gear S brings another element to controlling it. Just about every smartwatch out there only uses the touchscreen. They have touchscreens on them. The Pebble doesn't. It has 4 buttons it uses, 3 on one side and 1 on the other. And it uses that to control the watch. The Apple Watch uses a touchscreen and a digital crown and uses it uses a really big power button on the side. And I'm not sure why it has such a huge power button on one side. It's really weird. But the real interesting gimmick about the Gear S2 is that this rim of the watch here rotates to control it. And as soon as I can find a picture of it... there we go. And as you can see, right here... Come on, move over. No! Get back here, you stupid-ass picture. Alright, well, when this retarded animation is not moving... You could see on the app screen over there that the menu system's kind of in a circle, and you can just twist the ring on it to select which one you want. And it's got 2 buttons on the side. This is an interesting concept. that there's another aspect of controlling it. There was one thing I couldn't stand about some of the smartwatches I've tried, one of them being the original Gear S, was that everything had to be done through the touchscreen. And on the go, that's kind of clumsy. I can't count how many times I've just been walking along and I just have just blindly on my right hand, just quickly hit a few buttons on the Pebble to control what song was playing through the Bluetooth earpiece I was wearing. I could do it no sweat as I was walking down a hallway, without even thinking about it, and still being able to look forward. With a touchscreen one, you gotta fumble around with it, kind of swipe along, and God, it was just a mess. On top of that, I have fat sausage fingers, so yeah, my finger's covering up half the screen, which doesn't make anything easier. These alternative methods of controlling the watch, I think, is what's going to make and break other watches. Which actually brings us to our last one, the LG Urbane. LG's got 3 watches right now. They have the LG G watch, which it looks terrible. The Pebble looks like a better watch, and that wasn't even built for design. That was just built for bare bones functionality. It says the slim, stylish, and always on smart piece. It's not slim. It's not stylish. It's fugly as... Ugh. It's gross. The LG G Watch R looks pretty good. It looks pretty strong and all that jazz. I don't care about that. I want to look at the LG Watch Urbane, the top tier flagship of the Android watches. One thing to note is that there's a software platform called Android Wear. Android Wear basically says that just like Android, they put it out and anyone can make a device on it. Android Wear can even be used on iOS now, which I am very curious to see how that'll work. However, not owning an iOS device anymore and not owning an Android watch, I'm not able to test that myself. So, wah, wah. Plenty of other people will probably test it and listen to multiple people. That's a general rule of thumb when listening to any sort of news out there. Never take one source at face value. Get multiple sources. Always, always, always get multiple sources without fail. Because you never know when one guy going, oh hey look, Android Wear works perfectly fine on the iWatch, and they don't even, or not on the iWatch, on an iPhone, and it turns out they have an Android phone and are just big fanboys of Android. You always want multiple sources. Anyway, it's an Android Wear watch. There's not really much to it when it comes to that. It's a very good looking watch. But, it's just a touchscreen. It easily fools people into thinking you have a real watch on, and that's not a smartwatch. There's only one button on it, and that's one of the big problems I have with Android Wear right now. There's not really any elements on it to let you have another method of control. You've got to use the touchscreen, and it's clumsy. It's just really clumsy, and I don't think it's there yet. So it's not really a knock on this watch. It's more of a knock on the platform. So, please, Google, please make this go somewhere. Holy smokes, did I really rant for 24 minutes on this too? Good lord,
how did I end up here? Lying in your arms, watching city lights and the stars.
Welcome back, Eagle Eyes on Tech. I am Eagle Falcon. Let's just end this real quick. Oh, I still have Urbane up. So, I want to talk about gaming laptops this week, and didn't really have a chance to. So let's just quickly look over. I'm just going to compare a few things real quick. For starters, gaming laptops are not thin. And they're not for the average user. These are laptops for people who want to either game on the go, or their laptop's their only computer and they want high performance out of it. These are powerhouse monsters. And even if you are just someone who does just moderate work, but you only want the laptop, but you only have the laptop, you don't have a desktop anymore, I would still recommend getting a laptop of this caliber, not specifically a gaming laptop, but just something that's got decent horsepower, something that's not built to be thin, but something to be powerful and durable, and you'll not be disappointed. But let's just take a look at Alienware's lineup right now. A lot of people hate Alienware because Dell bought them, and they think, oh, it's gone to shit since Dell bought them. Here's a news flash for you. Before Dell bought Alienware, Alienware was using Clevo laptops. Yeah, you know, that Chinese company that just makes generic laptops and people slap their logos on them. Nothing was special about Alienware before. Get over it. Dell owns them now. Dell makes some good laptops. And you know what? It's better for Alienware because now they can actually have some freedom other than going, oh, well, I guess we have to use this little box model for our highest end laptops. It's the only one Clevo offers with two graphic card slots. Now Alienware can do whatever the heck they want. In fact, that's where the graphics amplifier came from. This thing is a marvel of docks. If you've ever had a business laptop, one of the features they have is called the docking port. On the bottom, there's this weird slot. You put the laptop on it, press down on it, it locks into this port, and voila. Everything that's hooked up to the dock is now hooked up to the laptop. The graphics amplifier takes us to a very interesting level. Let me quickly get a picture of this thing. God, here's all my planning. On the back of this, I can tell you all about it. On the back of this thing, you've got one big thick cable, and one downside of this, as opposed to a traditional dock, is that the computer's got to be off to hook it up. So that's one downside. But in this thing, you can stash just about any graphic card in there. Any dual slot card, so no Titan Z in there, which whoop-de-doo. Oh darn, I can't put a $3,000 graphic card in there. Ooh. Whatever. Any graphic card you put in the... That was humiliating. That was my phone. Shout out to Archer for that ringtone. Anyway, you can fit any desktop graphic card in there that's dual slot. It's like a 375 watt power supply in there that powers it. And you can hook up external screens to this thing if you want to. And also you've got 4 USB ports. So you can hook up a full-size keyboard, a full-size mouse, a large mic like I've got here, another headset, whatever you want. And you can hook up, 2 or 3 monitors to the thing. So a nice setup like I've got 3 monitors here hooked up to one Dell Precision workstation. And that's the main setup you're looking at. Right now you're only looking at the main display. I've still got other stuff going on the other 2. And now everyone's texting me now. That's super. I can't believe I forgot to turn off my phone. That is humiliating. Anyway. Where was I? You hook this thing up, and the graphic card that's in the amplifier is now the graphic card that the laptop uses. So instead of being restricted by the lower wattage graphic card of the laptop, you've now got full desktop grade graphics performance. And that's a huge game changer in a world right now where the graphic card the bottleneck in gaming. The CPU really isn't anymore unless you're playing Terra, which doesn't know how to maximize CPU processing. Like seriously, I've run that game and it only knows how to touch 2 of the 8 cores I've got in this rig. But enough of that. They currently have 8 laptops, 13-inch, 15-inch, 17-inch, and 18-inch. Right now, Do not buy the 18-inch. You should not buy the 18-inch for basically one reason. They are still on the Haswell processors. There is an update down the line that's coming, and just wait for it. Just keep calm and wait for it if you're waiting to shell out on that. Other people are going to say, oh, there's better options out there. I'm not going to tell you that. It's basically the same thing. Every single gaming laptop's going to be have a lot of similarities. They're going to be big, they're going to be chunky, they're going to weigh a lot, and they're going to have a lot of graphics horsepower in them. The only thing you're really going to be buying is which one has the best feel for you. So, anyway, let's start from here. We have the 13-inch, and it's lacking a lot of the lighting that the other ones have. The trackpad doesn't light up, and there's no ring around the bottom. So if you're into lights, definitely avoid the 13-incher. If you like having a full-powered laptop CPU in there, also avoid this one, because see that little U at the end there? That means ultra-low voltage. Wah, wah. And although this thing can have the graphics amplifier that could really bring up a lot of horsepower, using an ultra-low voltage, now you put yourself at high risk of the CPU being the bottleneck, and that's no good. I've got nothing against the GTX 960M other than, it's a very mediocre graphic card for gaming. I mean, it's fine on its own, but if you're looking to have that be like the ultimate in gaming docking, having a nice desktop setup but the laptop being the brains of the operation, don't do this. Go for the 15 or go for the 17. Because as you can see, you've got the full high-performance quad-core overclockable processors. By the way, they are overclockable. Don't do it, man. Just don't do it. Avoid it. You've got full GTX 680M laptop graphic cards in there. And it's got all the RAM, all the whatever you want. It's a gaming laptop. Who cares? Most of you are probably just going to go get the minimum specs on these things anyway, and then add RAM later on anyway, because that's the kind of person you are. It's an Alienware. If you know anything about doing any sort of minor upgrading to laptops, you're going to be at home in here. They're massive, giant, like hot rods of laptops. I own one myself. They're fantastic to work on. But let's move on to one of the ones that really bugs me. And that's Razer's Blade. First off, really? The Razer Blade? Boo! Boo! Seriously, I hang out with people who make bad puns all the time. That's terrible. Even they would be ashamed to make this pun. The company's named Razer, and we're going to name the laptop the Blade. Boo. Anyway, let's look at the Razer Blade. It's a 14-inch gaming laptop, which I'm okay with. It's got decent specs in there. You got a nice Intel Core i7 running that nice little 4 there. It's Haswell based, 4th generation. Means a new one's gonna be on the road. Don't buy this. There's a number of reasons why you shouldn't buy it, but just don't buy it because there's a new one on the way. Just avoid it. Wait for the new one to come out. It's on its way. We're still on. It's got RAM in there. I believe it's soldered on RAM too, which again, I hate. You've got a nice SSD in there. You're running a GTX 970M in there. A lot of horsepower in there. So it's a decent machine. There's two things I don't like about this thing. Oh wow, just shy of a 4K screen. Oh well, still stupid high resolution. And I'm trying to get a good picture of it. I'm having a real rough time finding it. Dang it. But anyway. Oh, here we go. That's where it is. Basically, the design's a MacBook Pro. Basically, a MacBook Pro display. First off, oh my god. Cooling vents. the thing is, you notice is that it used the same hinge design as the MacBook Pro. And if there's one thing the MacBook Pro has suffered at, it's trying to cool itself, to keeping it from cooking itself. I haven't heard much about this thing overheating. It's just one thing that concerns me. Oh, and by the way, if you want a different color on that keyboard, tough. It's not like the Alienwares where you can customize them, or like most of the other ones where you can customize them. You're stuck with that. But the one that people know about the most is this one, the Razer Blade Pro. And that's one where the trackpad's moved to the side here, and it's got an LCD screen on it, and it's just a massive gimmick that's kind of cool. And it's got these kind of buttons on there, but I don't know anyone who praises this to high heaven. I know one or two people who use it, and it's just kind of, eh. They end up plugging in a mouse anyway. The only thing I really like about this guy is, as you can see right here, the vent's on the side. So there's now not a giant hinge blocking air from escaping. But here is the strangest, underline the strangest choice. The bigger laptop has a worse graphic card in it. And it's not negligible either. Look at this. It scores drastically lower. It's 20% slower. I don't know how GPU Boss says there's no winner declared. They're clearly drunk. By the way, I don't like using GPU Boss as a source for this reason. They're wildly inaccurate. But this is a no-brainer. They even list the specs right here. Everything is 4 times higher. Almost everything is 2 to 4 times higher. This is a no-brainer. The 670 is a better graphic card. Why? Why on the more expensive laptop would you put a crappier graphic card? It makes no sense. And it's not like the price is close. Oh, no. No. This sucker starts at $2,500. You know what I could get for $2,500 from Alienware? Better than this. Oh yeah, sure, it's not going to be light and have a gimmicky trackpad. It's going to be better than this. Where's my new Razer Blade? New Razer Blade starts at $2,000. I only try to say what you should and shouldn't buy if it's something that sticks out like a sore The only time I say you shouldn't buy something is when it sticks out like a sore thumb. Go ahead and buy an Alienware. To me, there's nothing that really stands out. A lot of people say it's lower quality. It's not. There are still risks like there are with any gaming laptop. It's high-powered equipment. High-powered equipment has a high rate of failure. If you're looking for something that's reliable, just go with something that's higher quality, like a professional-grade laptop that's lower-powered. But, I mean, for $2,500... For $2,500, you can get a car. My car out there, which is still a fantastically reliable thing, I bought for less than this. For less than either of these. It blows me away. It really does. But I'm only scratching the surface of what's in the gaming laptop world. There's still so much more to look at. But for now, I've gone way over. This is probably going to be an hour and 20-minute episode now. And I've got a Packer game to watch. And it's going to be a great one. So, in any case, that's it for today. If you have any questions for me, please feel free to email me at eaglefalcontech@gmail.com. That's it. I'll see you next week. Rest well, everyone. And seriously, if it's 2 a.m., go to bed. Just go to bed.